Have you ever been there? You chase someone for weeks, maybe months, you finally win them over, and then poof, the feeling is just gone. It is one of the most confusing things about dating, and today we're gonna get to the bottom of exactly why it happens. So, why does this happen? If this question hits home for you, I want you to know you are so not alone. It's an incredibly common and, let's be honest, super frustrating experience. But it's not some random flaw in your personality. There are real, deep-seated psychological reasons behind it. It's this classic push and pull. You're drawn to them like a magnet when they're hard to get, but the second they turn around and get close, you feel this urge to back away. So what is going on there? This isn't about you being a bad person. It's a pattern, and it's rooted in everything from brain chemistry to fear, and today we're gonna unpack all of it. Okay, first up, we have to talk about our brains, because a huge part of this feeling comes down to a powerful little chemical that can literally make the chase itself feel like an addiction. Yeah, let's talk about dopamine. We usually think of it as the reward chemical, right? But here's the fascinating part. Research shows it's not actually the reward that gives us the biggest hit. It's the anticipation and the uncertainty of it all. To put it simply, your brain finds maybe way more exciting than a definite yes. And this breaks it down perfectly. When someone's unpredictable, sending mixed signals, taking forever to reply, your brain is just swimming in dopamine, trying to solve the puzzle. That feels like intense excitement, maybe even obsession. But then what happens when they become consistent? They show clear interest, the mystery is gone, and that dopamine level drops right off. And often that feeling of excitement goes right along with it. And that leads us to this really crucial point. It forces you to ask a tough question. Were you actually falling for them as a person? Or were you just hooked on the feeling of trying to win them over? That whole emotional roller coaster. That was the real drug. Exactly. Once you have their full attention, the game ends. The source of that chemical rush is just gone. And instead of feeling happy and secure, you're left with this weird, hollow feeling. A sense of, boredom. The thrill is gone. But it actually goes even deeper than brain chemistry. So let's move on. Because once the chase ends, something else kicks in, and that's the reality of a real connection, which comes with real risk. Think about it. When someone actually likes you back, the stakes suddenly get so much higher. This isn't just a fun game anymore. Now you can actually get hurt. You could be rejected down the line. You have to open up and be vulnerable. You might even feel like you're losing a piece of your independence. And for a lot of us, that is genuinely terrifying. So what does your brain do to protect you from all that potential pain? Well, it fires up its defense mechanisms. All of a sudden, you start noticing every little flaw, the way they chew their food, that one dumb joke they told. You start to feel unsure or get the ick. This is no accident. It's your subconscious mind creating distance to keep you in the safe zone. In psychology, there's a term for this. It's called an avoidant attachment style. This is a pattern where you truly do want love and connection on some level, but the moment it gets real and gets close, this subconscious fear just takes over, a fear of getting hurt or losing yourself. And it causes you to push it all away. You chase love when it's distant, and you run for the hills when it gets close. Okay, so for our final piece of the puzzle, let's talk about the stories we tell ourselves, specifically the gap between the person we imagine and the person who's actually standing right in front of us. When someone is distant or unavailable, we have all this blank space to project our fantasies onto. We can build them up into this perfect, exciting, idealized character in our heads. But when they start to like us back, they step off that pedestal. They become a real, normal, flawed human being. And sometimes that reality can feel like a major letdown compared to the blockbuster movie we created in our minds. All right, now this next part, this can be a really tough pill to swallow, but it might be the most important piece of all. It really comes down to how you see yourself. Because if deep down you don't actually feel worthy of love, then your brain does this painful, twisted kind of math. It says, hang on, if this person I thought was so great, actually likes me, well, then there must be something wrong with them. They can't be as amazing as I thought. Your own low self-worth literally sabotages the connection by devaluing their affection. And this faulty logic explains so much. It's why people sometimes ignore the kind, available person who treats them with respect, and instead find themselves chasing after someone who's distant or even treats them badly. Because sadly, that unhealthy dynamic confirms their own deep-seated belief that they aren't worthy of easy, healthy love. Okay, so we've looked at the problem from a few different angles.
The big question now is, what do we do about it? How do we actually break free from this pattern and start choosing real connection over all this confusion?
Well, the very first thing is just to see the cycle for what it is. You have to recognize this endless loop you might be on. You chase someone you can't have, you get hooked on that feeling, they finally show interest, your feelings fade, and you start the whole thing over again. Just seeing it, just acknowledging the pattern, is the first, most powerful step to breaking it.
So here's a path forward. Step 1 is all about awareness. The next time you feel that intense attraction, just pause and ask yourself, do I actually like this person, or am I just hooked on the chase? Step 2, actively choose stability. When you find someone who is kind and consistent, learn to just sit with that calm feeling. It might feel weird or boring at first, but that's what security feels like. And finally, step 3 is to redefine what attraction even means to you. It's not about chaos and drama. True, lasting attraction is built on peace, safety, and mutual respect.
And this is the ultimate mindset shift right here. If a new, healthy connection feels a little bit boring, that might not be a red flag at all. In fact, it might be a massive green one. It's just your brain getting used to the feeling of safety and stability, instead of the chaotic highs and lows it's been conditioned to crave. So let's bring it all home. Why do you lose interest? Well, it could be that your brain is just hooked on the dopamine of the chase, or you're subconsciously terrified of being vulnerable in a real relationship. Maybe you fell for a fantasy you created, not the actual person. And maybe, the hardest one, deep down, you might not feel worthy of receiving real love in the first place.
But here is the really good news in all of this. Understanding is power. Once you can see these patterns playing out in your own life, you gain the incredible ability to make a different choice. You can consciously decide to stop chasing confusion and start choosing connection. I want to leave you with a couple of questions to really think about. First, just be honest with yourself. Looking back, did you lose interest because that person genuinely changed for the worse? Or was it really just because the chase was finally over? And finally, looking ahead, what do you really want to choose for yourself? The short-lived, anxious excitement that comes from uncertainty, or the deep, lasting stability that comes from being with someone who truly sees you and chooses you back day after day? The choice really is yours to make.